Hello everyone. Today we are going to talk about a commodity which was definitely the most important commodity of last century, and many believe that it will continue to remain the most important commodity of 21st century as well. Yes, you guessed it right. We are going to talk about crude oil today. Prices of crude oil are usually calculated as dollar per barrel, and this barrel is written as BBL in the short form. Here is a trivia for you. Why do you think it is written as BBL and not as BRL, which perhaps would have been more logical? If you know the answer, great. Otherwise, please be with us and we will answer this question during the course of this video. Coming back to the prices of crude oil, what you see on screen is a fairly long-term price trend of crude oil. You can perhaps see three distinct phases of price trend here. The first phase, which is 1970s till early 2000, is the phase when price of crude oil was relatively flat. Yes, there are significant ups and downs, but is still at an overall level, there is no significant trend here. The prices that you see here are already adjusted for inflation, and considering these prices, the second phase that you see is a massive bull run from year 2000 till 2014. During this phase, the prices of crude oil actually even spiked till $150 per barrel mark and eventually stabilized somewhere around that $100 per barrel mark. The third phase of the crude oil prices actually start from the crash of 2014, and since then if you see the long-term trend of crude oil prices have been on a downward trend. This brings us to the main question: what will happen to the prices of crude oil in the coming decade? Now let's understand how prices of a commodity actually are decided. What are the factors that influence these prices? Obviously, at the most basic level, we are talking about the balance between demand and supply. If the demand of a commodity is very high, while the supply is limited or restricted, obviously the prices will shoot up, and vice versa will happen if the demand is limited or reducing while the supply is actually increasing. Now let's see what are the trends and factors which are going to influence the demand and supply balance for the crude oil. Let us start with the demand factors. The first factor is a trinity of renewable energy or RE, battery technology, and electrical vehicle or EV revolution. Talking about renewables, the solar and wind energy, they are seeing a massive ramp up in recent past. In fact, both of these forms of renewable energy are growing at a rate of 25 to 35% year on year. And with these growth rates, in the next 10 years or so, they will be at least 5 times bigger than what they are currently. And all of this renewable energy is mostly going to replace a share of fossil fuel where the crude oil also sits in. So, this is the first factor. The second one is the advancement in battery technologies. And this factor is also related to the first one because one of the biggest challenges with renewables was to store this energy. Because the generation versus the consumption can actually happen at a different time. The solar energy, for example, the generation or the energy availability is in the daytime, while the requirement could be at the night time. So you need a medium to store this energy, and that's where the battery technology comes into place. These batteries were very expensive and they were very bulky to begin with, but in the last decade or so, they've become lighter, more compact, and they've become significantly more affordable. With these changes in battery technology, the whole renewable space is now a lot more practical options for households. These batteries are also driving the electrical vehicles because now electrical vehicles are also becoming a lot more practical, and that's what you see on the roads also. There are many people who are now opting for electrical vehicles, and there are estimates that by 2030 there will be more than 300 million electrical vehicles in the world. You can imagine that all of these electrical vehicles are going to replace a significant amount of oil requirement from the world. So if you see this trinity of RE, battery technology, and EV revolution, is actually going to influence the demand for crude oil in a negative way. So this will actually reduce the demand for crude oil. The second factor, let's talk about technology and internet and its relation with the demand of crude oil. Now, on the face of it, you may say that it's a very odd relation. What's the relation between technology and crude oil demand? But reality is that there is a strong connection between the two. To give an example, whether we talk about video conferencing or distant learning, in a sense, these two things are eliminating the need for us to physically travel from one place to another place to conduct these meetings or attend these classes. So you can imagine that they are removing or reducing actual physical travel, and hence you can now see the link with the oil requirement. Similarly, if we talk about the over the top entertainment solutions like Netflix or maybe even YouTube, they are reducing the need for us to go all the way to cinema halls or to amusement park for our entertainment needs. Similarly, even e-commerce is a much more efficient way of delivering goods up to households. And lastly, which is fairly relatable, all these share ride services like Uber or Lyft are a lot more efficient mechanism of traveling from one place to another place, and they are reducing the traffic and the cars on the road in a significant way. So if you see all of them together, it's quite clear that technology drives less travel, and hence technology is actually an oil killer in the long run. Now let's talk about the supply side factors as well. No talk about the crude oil related supply factors is complete without talking about shale gas revolution in the world. The shale gas is nothing but smaller pockets of shale gas and oil deposits in the rocks deep inside Earth's surface. So these are smaller deposits. These are not extractable using the traditional methods. So the newer technology, which we call as hydraulic fracturing, is about injecting a combination of water, sand, and certain chemicals deep inside these rocks. So the solution essentially induces a kind of a fracturing in these rocks, and once these rocks are fractured in a way, all of this gas can actually flow out and can be extracted. So that's the basic technology behind it. In short, we call it as fracking, and fracking has led to a significant disruption, I would say, in the supply side of crude oil economics. To understand this, let's have a look at this chart. This is again a long-term supply side chart of crude oil. The red one stands for OPEC. This is nothing but a group of main oil producing countries concentrated largely in the Middle East. So they form a group. Then there is Russia, there is USA, and then rest of the world. Here the interesting players will be OPEC and USA, so those two lines are highlighted. OPEC's role in this whole equation, if you see the whole chart, has been to moderate its own production level to control the prices. And that's why it is called OPEC cartel, because they control their supply to make sure that the prices are maintained at a certain level. These are countries whose economies are significantly dependent on oil revenue, so it is in their best interest to ensure that prices of crude oil are maintained at a decent, or let's say at a decent high level. So they are willing to make those production cuts. And all of this worked pretty much fine for decades till late 2010. And if you see the US production chart, it has been continuously declining from 1970s all the way up to 2008 2009, and this is where the whole shale gas revolution took place. As we saw already, that the prices of crude oil during this phase 2007 8 9 was fairly high, and this actually there was enough incentive for shale gas producers to dig more wells. The shale gas is obviously a slightly more costly technology, but if the prices of crude oil is high, and at that time the prices were touching even $150 per barrel, so there was enough incentive for these people to actually dig those wells and invest in that technology. So that's when the whole shale gas production started rising up in the US. If you see the chart of US in the last 10 years, it has actually added about 8 to 10 million barrel per day capacity of oil production, which is pretty much about 10% of world production as of now. So this is the kind of impact that shale gas is having. What it has done is that OPEC is now, despite curbing their production, they are not able to control or support the price of crude oil. And this is actually having another significant impact. So for most of these countries, if you think about, if the price of crude oil is not going to recover in future, it is in their best interest to pump out the maximum oil today and sell it out. And we just saw the demand side factors. Perhaps the price of crude oil will remain under pressure. So most of these countries have lost this confidence on OPEC to control the prices of crude oil in the long term. And hence, in their own selfish interest, they want to push out maximum amount of oil as soon as possible. And hence, OPEC is kind of losing this control. And hence, Iraq, while it is member of OPEC, but it is still pushing a lot of oil in the recent years. Now, in a sense, this whole feeling, which is fear of missing out or FOMO in short, is again a big factor why the supply side of crude oil will remain the way it is. Most of the countries will keep pushing more and more oil even in future. So this is it. We have seen the demand side factors, we have seen the supply side factors, and as we saw, long-term demand as well as long-term supply, both of these factors are indicating only one direction for the crude oil prices, and that is that these prices will remain under significant pressure in the future. To talk about the prediction, I would stick my neck out and say that prices of crude oil in this decade on an average will remain under $50 per barrel, and then there will be phases when the prices of crude oil will come under significant pressure. Now finally, coming back to the trivia question, why is it denoted as BBL and not BRL? Now, to answer this, let's go back to about 150 years back, about 1850s. There are some other theories also, but this is the one which is perhaps the most accurate one. That during that time, when the crude oil was supposed to be transported long distance, they had to use these barrels for transporting crude oil. Now, oil is obviously a liquid, so in whichever barrel you put in, you have to make sure that that barrel has no leakage. So all these barrels had to be manually tested, and then whichever barrel was of a good quality, they used to put a blue mark on it, and hence the oil was to be transported only in the blue barrels, and this is where it got this name, which is blue barrel, and hence the BBL. So that's a side story about why we denote it as BBL. I hope you like this whole video, and if you have any comment on the assumptions that we made or the factors that we talk about, please let us know through the comment box, and thanks a lot for watching.